Happy Tuesday! We're going to be talking to author Elle Kayson today, and we're going to be talking about Deamon's Dream. I'm going to let this sit right here for a minute as people start coming on. And just to let you know, I'm Yoko with Girlfriends Unfiltered, and I am so excited that we're going to have Elle Kayson on. I see she's joined. We're going to about to bring her up, and she's coming quick. She's here already. Yay! Okay. Y'all, it's like 102, 3 degrees where I am today. So if you see me fanning, just know that there she is. I was telling them how it's hot.
Hi.
It's hot in here today. It's hot in here today. And then we have one of the hottest authors. Yay! I'm so excited. Can you hear me? I can't hear
Oh,
you.
hold on.
Oh, now I can.
I was just saying it's like I can't see myself, but I guess I was gonna turn it sideways, but then that probably would put me sideways. So I don't really need to see myself. It's
Are
good.
you sure? Because
Yeah,
a lot of times, are you using your iPad or your phone? That's
iPad.
why. If you have your phone, you can see yourself. The iPad does some weird stuff.
Okay.
You want to try to reset
Yeah,
it while we wait? We don't mind
yeah,
waiting. Yeah,
yeah.
let's wait
Give me
so
1
you can be
minute.
able to see some of the things people are saying.
Okay, can you like kick me out? I don't even see the button to hang up.
Um, just maybe turn that iPad off because I don't see it
Okay,
either.
okay. Let me get
Okay,
out of here then.
okay,
I'll be right back. Okay.
okay. We waiting. Y'all, today we're gonna be talking about Demon's Dream, and the author is gonna reset. You still on? So you see me? Oh, there. All right. Let's see. Let's see. She's still on. She's resetting if you're coming on. So let's just give her a minute. Hey, how you doing? I'm so excited. Let me see. There's always a little bit of technical difficulties in this here world of social media. And so we're going to give a minute for her to come off because I don't want to knock the whole interview off. So we're gonna wait to see, and I think maybe if I send her a request, let's try that way. She might be able to come back up that way. Let me try it this way. Okay, so now I sent her another invite, so maybe she'll be able to come up that way to see. And yeah, we're going to be talking about Demon's Dream, but we're also going to be going through her writing journey. We're going to be talking about her entire catalog. And so y'all can get your pens and papers ready because we're going to be delving deep into this one. Getting into just her journey, like where she started, where she plans to go, her upcoming projects. We're gonna do that as well. And so let's see. She's gonna be coming back. For those of you who have to leave, and it's fine, we're gonna post the interview, and all you have to do is slide the bar forward, and it'll take you to whatever part of the interview that you would like to be at. And so again, there was just a little bit of technical difficulty, so she dropped off, and she's going to be coming back on shortly. So let's just wait on her to come. Let me see. Send another invite. See if that one works. Let's see. Is she coming? Hey,
Yes.
welcome back again.
Hi. You see me?
Yeah.
I just wanted
Are
to.
you able to see yourself?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool,
And no
cool.
echo. Sometimes I worry about that with this phone.
Yeah, with the two, sometimes the two devices will do that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm excited. We're ready to go, y'all. I'm Yoko with Girlfriends Unfiltered. And I am so honored and excited to have with us today author Elle Kayson. Her very popular fan favorite book is Demon's Dream. But I'm going to give her an introduction because I had to find a lot of stuff, but I just want to talk about it. Um, She's an Amazon best-selling author who writes urban romance, women fiction, and very intriguing love stories. Her character development skills with her well-developed storylines are jaw-dropping, and her love-making scenes will keep you captivated. She is the author of the fan favorite book that has over 16,000 reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. Y'all know who I'm talking about is from the author of Demon's Dream. This is Elle Kayson.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me for real.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm ready to get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're gonna have a lot of fun. If y'all have questions,
Nervous and ready. I'm
are
ready.
you ready? Okay. So if y'all have questions, you can drop them into the little circle where there's the question mark, and that's where we're gonna be grabbing if you have any questions there. We'll definitely try to get to you. But I'm gonna start this as usual. I always ask, when did you fall in love with writing Black romance stories or Black love stories? Because you write a variety.
Probably when I was in sixth grade, and I was my sixth grade teacher. I had a big one of those big old historical romances in class with me, and she had called my parents and had a meeting and said, "I don't think she should be reading these things," you know. And my parents, because I started out with the little Harlequin books and like zipped through those, and my parents were just like they. It wasn't that they couldn't do anything with me, but I was gonna pick up anything and read it. My mom used to tell me, "You're gonna read something you don't want to one day," because I would pick up anything and read it, and so I remember around sixth grade starting to. I always say I'm aging myself. I had a trapper keeper, and you know how
Okay.
you have that loose leaf
Like a
paper in it. And I
peachy.
start, I have friends on Facebook now who will mention it. They remember. I used to write just never a whole story, just scenes that I wanted to write, like too young then I wasn't writing certain scenes, but just like how they met or
Mhm.
I always like the conflict and the process of getting together.
Right.
So just random scenes with the thought that, oh, one day I'm gonna write a whole story. So probably when I was 11 or 12, I decided I just wanted to um write, and I had a lot of pressure, not necessarily in the negative way, but a lot of pressure for being and from being an academic standout, that there was a certain path that I was going to go. You know, I had to go to college. I had to have something serious to do, you know. Um, and so it took me a while to come back around to it. So probably wasn't still scribbling things out of my head, but probably I was in grad school
Okay.
before I wrote a full story.
What do you mind me asking? What did you study when you were in school?
I have my bachelor's is in psychology, but my minor was in African American studies.
Okay.
So I love that. So I went to school for a year. I went to grad school for a year in counseling psychology. And
Mhm.
I didn't like the program I was in. If I probably been in a better program, I might have ended up being a therapist like I thought I would be, wanted to be. But I was like,
I'm
let
gonna
me
stop
go.
you right there because you know you're
Okay.
a therapist in your own way, right?
I guess so. With some of the things I hear about the book, you know.
Absolutely. Like we're still getting treatment.
So um I said, oh, I'll go over here to the history department and pick up a few classes. Because at that point, you know, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like 21, 22.
Mhm.
All I had ever known was school. So I liked the history courses, enrolled in the master's program, graduated and taught, you know, like elementary and middle school for a few years.
Really?
And my old professor, my old advisor, and one of the guys I went to school with kept saying, you have to go get your PhD. You know, they were very encouraging about because of my writing ability. People always saw the writing ability, you know, and they were like, you have to go, you have to go. And then my friend was finally like, because I was struggling, a single mom or whatever. He's like, if I pay the application fee and pay for you, you know, if you want to take the GRE again, you know, will you go? And I was like, sure. I'm burnt out on this already. Teaching in rural Louisiana, there's no money, you know. Um, and I got in every step of the way. I didn't think I was finished. I didn't think I was gonna finish the coursework, and I did. I didn't think I was gonna pass the comprehensive exams, and I did. Again, that writing ability helped a lot. I said, "There's no way I'm writing a dissertation." But you know, if you tackle a dissertation like, okay, it's a set, even though they're all interconnected,
Right.
it's a set of 5 or 6 grad school papers, because you know, your papers are like 30
Right.
pages,
Right.
you know. Then it makes it manageable, and so I ended up with a PhD in recent U.S. history.
Wow.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting here thinking, Demon Street. Did you ever imagine that you would find yourself writing urban? Because it has an urban twist. So first, let me ask you, how do you describe your writing style? Because I don't like to give like, oh, she's urban fiction. How do you describe what you write?
I think I'm a contemporary girl at heart, African American romance girl at heart. Just because it's what I came up on.
Mhm.
That's kind of like the background I had. I had from two working class parents they were married till my dad died, and went to school, and so I haven't had a rough life at all, to be honest. But I read the just using my imagination
Okay.
and research skills. I my
Definitely
sister.
research. Definitely
Yeah,
research. You have your
you have to
PhD.
do
You know
research.
that whole,
Yeah.
and I can't wait because that was one. That was definitely going to be one of my questions in regards to your writing experience.
Hmm.
And so, what was your first book?
So the first book that I wrote in the book that I finished in graduate school and came back out later was my first published fiction book was What an Heiress Wants.
What an
I called it High Maintenance, all in graduate school. So it's my baby. It's my baby. I look at it now and I see, I thank God for growth and development. But I wrote it as I was writing like the graduate papers and the dissertation because I needed to give my mind something that I enjoy the
yeah.
history in its own way, but I needed to give it my brain a release too, like I will say a more fun release.
So,
I don't think it's bad to say that.
was it like just a cathartic experience, being able
Hmm.
to write something totally different from U.S. history?
Yes, yes. I had another one that I actually wrote, but that was back in the days of um discs and all that before, and I ended up losing it, lost the whole story. So yeah, that one survived the dark ages, so you have the fossilized remains now. And so it was the first thing that I put out. And right after that, I was really inspired. I put it out because I had it done, and in the meantime I was working on the Kinsey series, The Beauty of the Street Love, after I had read urban fiction or urban romance and decided that I wanted to dip my toe in those waters.
Okay, so you have your PhD, you've done all
Mhm.
this research, you had to do theses, you have to do all these things you had to do. So we know research is very important, and you have a degree in U.S. history. Have you ever considered writing historical fiction?
I do think about that. I do. And I think, oh my God, I love Beverly Jenkins because she writes about, African Americans like
Mhm.
immediately.
Okay, okay, you're back now. That's okay. We can hear you
Okay,
now.
somebody was calling. I probably should put this. Let me see if I can. I don't want to miss anything. I was about to put it on Do Not Disturb. Um, but yeah, I've thought about it. But that would be a lot of, and which is crazy. That's my period. I do like
Yeah.
1865 to the present,
Wow.
So
That, and that's Beverly Jenkins space. So you'll be right there. Yeah, we just getting that's okay. We
okay.
just getting
Okay.
we know that's okay. Um, so yeah, that would be interesting because you have the background of African American studies, and then you have U.S. history. So that's something I'm gonna make a note. So if you see me rambling in your DMs about sis, when we gonna get that historical fiction, you're gonna know what I will say. You remember? Let me go over to beta readers and your editors.
Okay.
Um, it sounds like you're obviously very versed in writing because you've written a lot of things just to get out of school.
Right.
What is that experience like, and what is your editing process look like?
Okay. So I am still working on like building a team even now
Okay.
of beta readers, like two or three that I rely on outside of people that are close to me, because for so long the process has been like give it to my sister, give it to my best friend, and give it to like my pen sisters. And um that's about all that I
Okay.
do. And I've let some beta readers like read it more recently or whatever.
Okay.
But so they read it, I get their feedback, I think about it. The thing is I agonize over it. It takes me so long. I'm like, I have to cut that out. But the editing process, one of the reasons I'm such a slow author is that I edit.
Hmm.
I, for an analogy, let me say this. I'm that person who cleans up before the cleaning lady
Okay.
comes. So before the editor gets it, like I don't know if y'all saw Tylee told me the other day I was worried something, and she told me on Facebook, let me worry about that, but I'm like, she not about to be thinking that, I'm the worst writer ever. I gotta clean this up.
Hmm.
So like every few lines I have to go back, which is a challenge
Hmm.
now because I have to do more voice to text with the little nerve disorder I have. And so, oh my gosh, I talk fast and I have a little bit of a southern accent. And it's apparently not really normed on southern accents. So that's an experience. But yeah, I edit the whole time. But it goes to I let someone there's beta readers increasingly. I let someone proofread
Hmm.
it and then it goes to the editor.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't know that you didn't have a developmental editor. But again, it sounds like you're doing the work, sis, and
Mhm.
it's showing up in what we're getting. I
Thank
know
you.
everyone's waiting. We're going to get there. We are definitely going to get to Demon's Dream. But I just have a few more questions
Okay.
in regarding because I know there's people who are watching and see how amazing this journey has been for you, particularly as an indie author. Can you share a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about your indie experience?
Mm-hmm. It's relatively new, like in the and it's been you said the right words, a learning
Uh huh.
experience. There's a lot to do. I'm that scattered brain person who tries to do 30 things at one time. So grateful I have the most wonderful assistants in the world. And they do more than assisting, but I have, assistants. I work with Brianna Bogg and Vanika Rich,
Okay.
and they keep me as on top of things as Elle Kayson can be, because I'm always going to be a little scrambled in behind or whatever. But they've made a lot of things possible because that book, just um, yeah, the journey after that book, and then expanding and trying to do other things, trying to stay on top of what you have built and still trying to build and expand
Yes.
more. That's something else. And I know I'm probably being kind of vague, but it was very much a process of learning all the steps. And I have people that help me, like, um I still like when Maya, when she formats it, I'm just like, oh, can you post it for me, because I'm so superstitious and I'm scared if I click it something's gonna
After
go
you
wrong or
lost
whatever.
that,
Yeah.
so
So
exactly.
right. And I got get a lot of advice from people like Tiana Costin. And I'm someone who does not mind asking questions. If I get the sense that you're gatekeeping, which I can't say I really have from anyone, I know some people get accused of that a lot, then I'll back off. But to me, I don't know if it's kind of like the southerner in me. I don't want to see naive. I don't want to say naivete because I'm too old for that. But kind of like I'm friendly, and I think other people are. And so if I really have a question, I don't know, I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna go ask so and so. I
And
see
you
they do
know
this
what?
well.
That's how we learn, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's a space in how we learn. I know you have written how many books now?
Um, you know what? People don't believe me with that I don't know off the top of my head. Let me see. I'm gonna count fast. I know we
Okay.
get on time. Okay, so it's one, four.
And while you're counting, I want you to think of three things because we obviously Demon's Dream is going to take up a lot of space in this
Okay,
conversation. So while we have the opportunity right now, while you're thinking and counting, if you while you're putting that together, the book in your catalog that's not Demon's Dream that you would recommend to someone. Okay.
okay.
The most difficult book. Okay.
Mm,
And the book that is most closely related to you.
okay.
That's
Okay.
dope that you can think like you've written that many books.
I really feel like it's not a lot considering the fact that I've been writing, like, what is it, 7 years now?
Yeah.
I think I think 14 and some collabs, some short stories. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the your catalog has 14 books in it. Everyone talks about Demon's Dream, so it's like the other books. I'm gonna not use the term stepchildren, but they just don't get as much attention. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you just this moment to let those children shine. This is
Okay.
for you right now. Before we get into the
So I love There's Still Beauty in the Street Love. And in saying that, I have to tell you to read The Beauty of the Street Love too, because There's Still Beauty is a spinoff,
uh-huh.
but I love Angel and
Oh,
Tamar. and
Okay.
they're really
That's
close
called
to
The
my heart.
Beauty of Street Love.
There's this one that you have to start with The
Okay.
Beauty of the Street Love, and then the spinoff is really like my favorite. It's called There's Still Beauty in the Street Love.
Okay.
I don't know why I approve those titles. I didn't used to care about titles and covers and stuff. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, and
Speaking
we're
of
gonna
going
don't
indie,
worry because we're getting there.
speaking of going indie, I didn't care. I was like, you can pick the cover, you can put the title. I don't
So
care because I'm a synopsis girl.
so these are the two that that you would recommend right now for someone coming into your catalog. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all, again, it's of the beauty of the street, and there is still beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so those are two that you would recommend that are in that you want to reintroduce.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm reintroducing them, and so I'm gonna look forward to reading those, and I hope everyone else does the same.
Okay.
Now, I want to talk about this book right here. This is Demon's Dream, and I'm ready to talk about it. Um, First things first. This book seems like it just poof, it's just exploded, and the steam just keeps coming. I mean, there's
Yeah.
interviews. I mean, I think I saw reviews that was just from a couple days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then I could go all the way back to 2022, and they just keep
Mm-hmm.
coming and coming and coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to read you a couple of the reviews and things that people have said before we get into talking about Demon Street. This is an
Yes.
opportunity for, if you're watching, to give her flowers now. Okay. It says, here we go. It goes, there's not enough stars. Couldn't put it down. Awesome read. Don't judge a book by its cover. Absolute fire. Definitely worth reading. One word, amazing. Love it so much. Elle Kayson, you crafted this Black love story in a magnificent way. Fire. The way I devoured this book, a must read. I didn't want to put it down. Black love in its purest form. Loved every minute. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. That is just a little grain of salt of all of the amazing things that people were saying about Demon's Dream, an untold love story.
Mm-hmm.
What was the seed for Demon's Dream?
Lord is about to be cry. I tell people when they ask me about following up, and I do want to tell Cam's story one day. I'll just put that out there. Um, I was in a, I was reading I was doing more reading than writing. I was in a really bad space, and I was escaping through books and reading a lot of. I read across genres. Like I told you, I pick up anything that I like, and if I like it, I like it. So I was like, I went through a period when I was stuck on, mafia books, and I was starting to read those bully romances, which have their
Uh-huh.
issues. I won't lie about that. And always, I think going back to that sixth grade girl, I'm thinking about, oh, what if we did this with Black characters and Black settings and Black culture? Um the language, the surroundings, the family ties. I mean, down to at a certain extent, the names. Sometimes. And so coming up and then just being in a kind of a dark place, in terms of, I've told the story a lot about, just been I've had lifelong struggle with depression and anxiety. And that was one of my definitely kind of periods where the good feelings had ebbed, the down period. And also ended up getting physically
Mhm.
sick during that period, getting developing the nerve disorder, and we didn't know what it was at first, and so I was dealing with partial paralysis and stuff. But always the brain was busy. I was in the hospital finishing my short story in our Savage Resolution anthology. In the hospital, my sister helping me because my hands, I was losing more and more control of them. But anyway, coming out of that spot, and so I wanted to write something mafia influenced. Even if that was kind of maybe subconscious at the point, that was what was on my mind. Definitely, again, I was a little bit influenced by the bully books. always influenced by, the history of Black romance stories. Um, and I knew I wanted to write about a man because I started to explore it a little bit with Angel, but I think Demon's kind of darker
Uh-huh.
and in some ways than Angel and There's Still Beauty of the Street Love. I wanted to explore a man who had been deeply hurt um in how he starts to be able to see worth in himself and to believe in
Okay.
love again, and how it could not be a story just about, even though there's definitely an aspect of that, oh, love saved him. Like, even though I don't get to show a lot of it because it had gotten so long, Demon
Yes.
does go do his
Okay,
work.
so
He does go do his work.
I'm gonna have you pause just for a minute because two things I want to ask you. First of all, the book is 700 and so many pages.
Hmm.
There's definitely like a whole Netflix series here. That's one thing, but but you have two stories running just like this.
Hmm.
Um, there's Damon, and Dream, and then there's Smoke and Diana.
Hmm.
Why did you choose to merge them into one book instead of making multiple books?
Two things. One, I thought about it as a series. Everything that had come before had mostly been a series, but there was no stopping place. If you read it, there's really no stopping place because we learned, to stop series. Just modeling what I'd seen in my genre, you stop series on a cliffhanger, and there weren't really any cliffhangers. Maybe when Smoke walked into the wedding, but it wasn't. Smoke and Diana weren't the primary characters, so I didn't feel like they should have the cliffhanger. And so it just kept going and going and going with no spot to break it up. That was one thing. Secondly, if you know me, like, I know a lot of people don't, and I've seen like the comments in the reviews or whatever, where people ask, why did I do it? And not in the like, not the nice way you do it, but people fussing about it. I do it because two reasons.
Uh-huh.
That's always done in my genre. Like when I came in, like my first series that did well, the Kinsey series that I told you about, The Beauty of the Street Love.
Right.
There's like four brothers and their partners,
Okay.
and that I'm telling their stories, and then I tell the sister stories, along with expanding on one of the brother stories, and then in spinoff. So I've always written more than one story, and it wasn't abnormal for the genre I was in. Secondly, in the middle. The word is not blame, but my sister gets blame or credit for so much stuff. But let me tell you, when she read like the Kinsey series, she's like, oh, so okay, even though it was the main characters are named Tramel and Shamar. She's like, oh, okay, so you gonna put Trip and Sin together, right? And I was like, okay, Kinsey. And then in reading, as again, she reads as I go along, and we read Smoke, and I liked Smoke.
Mhm.
It's like I kind of want to see a little bit more of him. So then when we talked about Diana, she's like, oh, "Okay, you're gonna put Smoke and Diana together, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me see how this would work out."
Yes.
And so that's why they tend to come later. I feel like I got to get you invested in the main characters, who I consider the main couple,
Mhm.
and then the secondary couple is just something that they pop into my head, and they have a story to tell too, and it's something that I've just always seen in like the urban romance genre. So,
So you know how we had a conversation, and I was telling you. So because I was doing an interview, so I am rereading, and this is my third time, and every single time there's been a different experience. And the most interesting thing is this third time, my focus has solely been on Smoke and Diana's story. And so each time I'm just like, it's it's totally the experience every time is different. So the first one was just pure excitement, like, oh my gosh, like someone actually wrote this and they were able to take mental health, depression, grief, love recovery, and merge it all into a
mhm.
story. It was done so well. That was the first experience. The second experience was, okay, let me really look into like the whole experience that Demon Damon had. And now it's just all about Smoke. And that's why I asked you that question, because it's so many things intertwined within that book. So let me ask you this question. You mentioned about healing, going through your own healing.
Mhm.
And so I want to talk about the power of words. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you're writing these books, and you delve really deep into emotions. Are you realizing that basically what you're writing in that process, your reader is almost like getting a therapy session because the words are so powerful? Do you take that into
I
consideration?
can't say that I consciously write like that. So I'm about to, oh my gosh. So I mean it's a good conversation. Um I had a reader recently and I my therapist, for example, knows that I do or whatever, but I just sent her this video from a reader and she talked about like her serious depression,
Mhm.
but how books keep her going because there's always another good book to read. And tell you what I do take into consideration. I want my books like I'm a guaranteed happily ever after because I want my books to be an escape because life can be so ugly, you know. And so in that sense, I do consider it. I want to make people kind of feel good
Mhm.
to know that no matter how what I take them through, there's gonna be, you know, a happy ever after. I'm sorry if that's cliche or whatever. I don't care because I feel like, you know, all you know, people will tell us like, oh, somebody died in the book, and that's real life. Well, you know, a lot of us, you know, if we wanted real life, we wouldn't be in these books. You know, the
Yes.
books are an escape for us.
Mhm.
So very much, I do build them with the idea
Yeah.
of them being an escape.
Thank you
Hmm.
so much for sharing. You're sharing so much of
Hmm.
yourself. I'm trying to take it all in.
Hmm.
And again, because I'm also rereading it, and so I'm also feeling just emotional.
Hmm.
Um, there's a part in the book when, okay, y'all, I hope most of you have already read this because I'm going to get a little detailed. So I'm going to pause just a second. There won't be any type of spoilers, but I want to delve deep into this. I'm Yoko with Girlfriends Unfiltered, and I'm interviewing the amazing author, Elle Kayson, and she's sharing a lot with us. So let me jump right into this. As part of Girlfriends Unfiltered, I always, whenever I talk, and part of my support of this book community, is I always say that every book is not for everybody, but every book is for somebody, right?
Hmm.
And I've just kind of lived in that moment, and you write very detailed and complex characters.
Thank you.
When you're writing these characters, how are you assigning their traits?
I honestly, it's something as simple as I think about the things that I want them to embody, the things that I want them to believe. They tend to, you know, they're all in terms they all share kind of like my progressive political views
Okay.
and uh but I do think about the little things that we admire in people that I want. I always tell people, like, for example, with Damien, he's good with kids. You know, people love that, and they especially love it in a man, I think. So I do think about the qualities that I want them to have that will make them, that will make people invested in them, make people endear them to people or
Mhm.
whatever. Um, and that's not to say that I always, you know, hit it, but I do try to
Nail
do
it.
that. Hmm.
So when you're writing these complex and characters, is there a particular audience that you're targeting when you're writing these books?
So I always think about how the audience has been with me, how they're going to receive it. I think about them a lot now because increasingly my writing is creeping towards romance. You know, lots of still urban romance elements in there, but kind of more traditional. What I'm trying to say,
Mhm.
contemporary romance, right? And I'm like the wonderful, fabulous, you know, Casey Mills told me, you know, you write the book you want to write, and the readers will come. And that's
Absolutely.
true. I think, you know, like Deamon's Dream, pulled in for me so many readers who hadn't read me before,
Mhm.
and from people who like really focus on typically read other genres from urban romance. And so I do want to build on that. I do want to get in a zone. I won't say that that it's uncomfortable.
Yes,
Writing
it's
urban romance,
uncomfortable. It is.
but I want to get in a zone of something more familiar for me, like more the way that I talk. I tell people like I'm, you know, I'm a little Southern school teacher. Like this is not my life, so I want to get into, you know, I'm moving into the zone of more like I talk in Um, I'm trying to let go of the problematic underground economy backgrounds some of them have or whatever. So,
Well,
um, yeah.
I think the complexity of the characters and who they are is what makes them relatable,
Hmm.
right? Um, Reading Demon's Dream, you focused on the importance of empathy, the importance of kindness, and you did it so well. Um, it also forces the reader to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, which is extremely important when it comes to healing.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
just, and it shows up that way. And I was waiting for you to say you had a degree in social work or psychology. I'm like, I know that's coming. Like, I
Hmm.
absolutely know it's going to come because it just seems like that a lot of that shows up in it. And you do a good job at it. So thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for saying it means a lot
Yeah.
coming from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about love recovery.
Okay.
So
Yes, I'm interested.
love recovery looks really different for different people, right? Because it stretches across the whole narrative of what love is. Um, so when I talk love recovery, I'm talking about familia, family love, friendship love, companion love. And,
Mhm.
and the question I'm looking at it as I'm talking to you and I'm pulling it apart. I put love recovery is such an interesting process. You did that with Damon. What was the process like making sure that you were able to see him recover and discover love again?
I just thought, like, I worried all along. I was like, is he opening up too much?
Uh-huh.
Is it too fast or whatever?
Mhm.
Because I wanted to. He was one character where I had development in mind. Like, I had to take him from this person, who's just like, you open the door and he unalives you to, I'm at a point that maybe I like when he tells, Dream that he doesn't unalive her brother and it's for her,
Uh-huh.
He doesn't know how to articulate exactly what that is, but he knows he's feeling it. And I had to make him start acting from that place. So it's clearly not just about the attraction he immediately feels. Even though I talk to some readers or see what they say, and they're like, "Oh no, he loved her from the beginning." That he saw her and that was it. But also, sometimes I wonder if it was just like a deep attraction, and he moves into these feelings, and
Because he had
to
to learn to
make
love
him,
himself. It was
yes.
a process, like literally true love recovery, because a lot of the process was just learning for him learning how to love himself.
I
And
think so because I think that's why he was so resistant to his brother loving him. Like
yes,
he didn't see that worth in himself. Like so he's like, "What? Why are you doing all these things? Like leave me alone,"
yes.
But I love the way, even though his brother is like, again, one of those morally gray
Mhm.
characters. When it comes to Damien, it's clear he loves his little brother.
Absolutely.
So
But he had to
I
learn how
just,
to love him,
hmm
right? He
hmm
had to learn because his versions of love didn't is not
right,
the narrative
yeah,
that we
he couldn't
see
go
turn
too
them to.
far,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
he usually takes care of things around him rather than directly showing him.
he there's a portion in the book, a part in the book right after his brother comes. And Dream is outside, she's crying, she's upset because she's on with a girl and she's like, "Tell him I'm hating you," and well, no, it's
Oh,
the
the
other
little
way
brother.
around.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
when he came to live with when he first came and he didn't want anything to do with him, his brother. And
Oh,
he
because you're
started
talking
saying,
about Cam. Okay, so I was talking about Dante, and you're talking
right,
about Cam. Okay.
when he was saying all of these mean things to her, yeah, he was saying all these mean things to her, and she was like, she could feel it, like she was taking the shots, but she said, like she understood his pain. Like,
Hmm.
I know this is not meant for me, and that just touched me differently because a lot of times we're reactionary to words, and how she was able to stand there in her own power and take that and realize it was about him. And then you did a really good job with that. What was that process of writing that? I know it's like the book is so long and there's different scenes, but that was a very pivotal moment to me. One, because his brother came into his life, and that was the day his brother was that the day? Yeah, that was the day his mother came back. And so it was a lot of processing. What was it like writing that?
For me, it was about, it's also her process of learning to love Damien, right? That, again, like you said, she has to realize that if she says anything that triggers him, or if she gets too close, a lot of, initially, he's going to pull back. And he's going to pull back with hurtful words to try to make her pull back too. And so she's making this decision that, no, he's saying these hateful things, but I'm not gonna let it make me, I'm not gonna let it make me pull back. I'm gonna stand here, and so then when, a little bit later, when she's really when he's pissed her off and she's about to leave, and he doesn't, want her to, he admits that he doesn't want her to. And so to me, it was like kind of her, not exactly reward, but seeing that, staying there in that moment did mean something to him. I wanted him to show that it did mean something to him, even though he was just spitting terrible things,
Very terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
And words are so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And a lot of times we, as humans, we pay attention to the words and not the emotions behind it. And because words can be very painful. But that's the part that I really connected to, and that's the part that made me better. That portion of that book made me better. And I just want you to know that because, again, there's um, therapy in books, right? Which means that you can use books for healing and therapy. And when I read books, that's my goal. Number one, to be trauma informed and to take something from the book that can make me better. And
Mm-hmm.
this time around, it was that particular scene. And I keep thinking, like, just all situations, a lot of situations, it's not so much the words, but it's the emotions that people are going through behind it that we don't
Mm-hmm.
see. So again, thank you for that. As I move on to the next question, because I'm gonna give you your flowers as we go through this.
Thank you.
I want to talk about your creative flow.
Oh goodness.
Um, with such detailed characters, and there's multiple characters, how did you maintain your creative flow as you went up? This was 700 plus pages, two, sometimes three different stories running like this. Because if you want to include when Deamon goes back to his childhood as a whole nother part, then
Mm-hmm.
there's like three different stories running. How did you keep your creative flow going?
Um, I will say I don't. I guess that is the maybe the thing that authors share, in the sense that I mean, it's so vague. I hate to give you vague answers, but they really were just talking to me. Like I could not rest. Like even with all I had going on, like I knew something had to come next. Like it really was hard to cut it off when I did. Like they just kept saying things, and there was more that I wanted to show, and I was like, oh, I need to, make sure this isn't a plot hole, and so let me talk more about this, and oh, I need to show them, in this light or this
Right.
aspect, or oh, this person wants to tell this story. So it really was just a lot of it came to me. I won't say sometimes the stories come to me easily, but I struggle with the words, like putting down the what I consider not.
The
I'm gonna say
transition to
the
putting
right
it
word.
on paper.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So that was the struggle. Them talking was not the issue. It was the struggle to put it down was the
Hmm.
problem.
I've interviewed a lot of people. I've never heard that
Hmm.
before. Huh. Okay. So like
That's
it's
my
like a
issue.
movie.
Like I have the story plotted out in my head. People wonder why I can't be faster. Like the story's finished in my head, but oh my gosh, I agonize over word choice, and I agonize over the when people ask me about my writing or whatever. I tell them I have to. It has to sound a way to me. I cannot explain it, but it has to sound a certain way.
You when I talked about you're going back and forth. So it's like a duality, right? You're creating balance. You're giving us this love story and this transition and this healing. At the same time, you're taking us back to the trauma that he experienced, um, which was really it was really hard to absorb. But
Hmm.
right when you're just like, I can't take this anymore, boom, you flip back over to
Uh
maybe a
huh.
sex scene,
Uh
right?
huh.
um, how did you let me see. How did you work through that? And I love how you inserted therapy and how important therapy is, and in and throughout the book in conversation. Why did you feel it was important, number one, to put the therapy portion and conversation there? And how did you navigate the whole process of writing a child being traumatized?
So full dis disclosure, I'm a survivor of SA and childhood SA, So really writing a lot of how I felt, how it made me feel, and how I've had to deal with it as an adult. Like I'm way older than Demon was,
Mm-hmm.
getting to a point of being with a therapist, a couple of therapists I've had that I could really talk
Mm-hmm.
to, doing like the long term work, trying to get back to the childhood parts, or whatever. Um, like she's very, the therapist I have now is very good about like, I'm upset about something in this day and age. Can we take that back? Like, where did that start? Like, why do this is the feeling behind that. Can you identify where that comes from? When you were younger, and we do a lot of work on that. And so realizing how important therapy was in my life. And again, it was so long, but I meant to show more of him and what he was going to say. I wanted him to talk more about Melanie or whatever, his mom. Um, but I only got to touch on it. Yeah, that guided me a lot. And how, of course, for obvious reasons that I wanted to see him with a happy ending.
Yeah. Man, my heart goes out to you. This, I'm actually speechless. Like, I really appreciate you sharing so much of yourself.
Mm.
Um, I was a child abuse investigator for almost 30 years. That's what I did
Mm.
for a long time. And so, to to see the work that you're creating, to offer healing to people who have experienced similar things as you, it's honorable. It's just, thank
Thank
you
you.
again. Thank you so much for that. Woo, okay. I need to, where are we gonna go? Let me go. Let me go.
I'm sorry. That's
That's
something
okay.
you
I
don't just announce. I'm sorry.
no, again, thank you for sharing, because sometimes as readers, I think we wonder, how do you come up with these stories, and how much of yourself shows up in the book that you even realize that it happens? Because when as a reader reading the books, it's like, okay, this book helped me with this. Let me get this book. This book helped me for that. And so, yeah, she's someone is saying how they appreciate you, and absolutely, I'm just
Thank you.
kind of
Thank
threw me off a
you.
little bit, but
I'm sorry.
I'm no, not like that. It was just, I was going to ask you a different question, and I don't want to. I'm going to move that question around now, and I'm
Okay.
going to go someplace a little different, and then I'll come back. Um, love. Um, there are love changes that occurred in this book. So as you wrote the book, it seems like as the book was written, different versions of love showed up. Do you plan that out? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you different versions. It starts here and it just goes all the way up.
Do you mean like between the couples or just like the
Between the
different
couple or just like family.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I thought.
Yes, like how it just increases. Are you aware that you're doing that?
I um I don't think I've ever thought about it in the terms that you're putting it in, but that's another thing that's I talk about some more negative things that happened to me that influenced my writing, but those are some of the happy things that have influenced my writing. I am from my parents only had 3 kids, but I am from a huge extended family,
Right.
and I am from the country, and so everybody knows everybody. Like I hang out with fourth and fifth cousins, people things. I remember my best friend in Houston telling me she didn't even know her first cousins, and I'm like, those are like my siblings. But that definitely shades and impacts my work, and I want people to have that supportive background because I have been blessed in that sense. I always think blessings come in different ways. Like there are a lot of things that have hurt me, but I have been extraordinarily blessed in a lot of ways, and in terms of family. On both sides, my dad's family and my mom's family, my cousins, like my sister is like my best friend, and then like my cousins are like, man, everything to me. So, that you're going to see that. And I'm sorry to influence my stories. And I loved my
Yes,
grandparents and,
and we love that
so,
though, because
hmm
it also shows up in the way you humanize your characters.
hmm
That which is very important, because I mean we could get a fantasy, like something that we don't want to connect to, but I think the reason, well, we can see just the things that people are writing, the connections that they have made to the story. And I just told you my connection, which may be totally different from someone else's
hmm
connection. And so it's so many different versions of love, which is written by you, that shows up in these stories. Can't not talk about romance and sex, because we have to get there. Okay. Um, the ability to mix sexual and sensual in one scene. Can you explain how that is done?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I have one reader. Oh God, Clarice. She's like, I'm like, it's my imagination, y'all. It's just like imagining like the ideal way things should
Uh-huh.
be. Like even when I know it's like exaggerated or ridiculous. Like your first, oh my God, your first time can be so horrible. But you don't write them like that. Unless you're in the spot where you're saying, okay, I'm going to make this more realistic. But she always teaches me, she's like, I don't care what you say, somebody is doing that stuff to you. And I'm like, girl, no. But it really is just like um it, imagination, the
Research.
importance of, yeah, research,
How do you
the
research
importance
that?
of girl, let me tell you. So I don't know what I'm about to say. People will tell you to look. It's crazy. I can write these words, and I'm always
Okay.
whispering the things. They'll tell you to look
I'm
at,
listening.
look at porn and get ideas. But I'm like, no, that doesn't work, because that's all just like that ain't
It's
romantic.
scripted.
Yeah. So I don't know. People tell me
Okay.
stories. My girlfriends tell me stories. Um, I remember, things from back in the Bronze Age when I was more, and I just add a little, add a few spicy
Uh-huh.
words in there, and I want both partners to enjoy it. I want, sometimes I discuss the issue of consent, given,
Yes.
especially some of the more traumatic things that have happened, and I just go from there. Oh, and I always have the thought that, dang, I got to make it different from what I've written before, even though some of it's, some things I found that I borrowed that I didn't even realize, after a while, you don't. So now, it's like I'm on a mission. It's like, what do I write now? What can they do
Uh-huh.
now? So more research.
So I just like the sensual part. Well, so there's scenes in the book where it's like really like, and then it's like the sensuality is like, yes, but then I rubbed her
Mhm.
hair, in the midst of it all, and it's just like the way it's mixed. It makes
Uh,
it very visual. It's like, okay, that's good. It's not
mhm.
just like, there is always some sensual part
Yeah.
that you tend to add into the scenes. I call them love making scenes, but I'm like, they seem kind of rough, but then there seemed like there was love in there.
You
So that was done well.
definitely want to show the love, and definitely, like, if you speaking of research, whatever, I've found, I've heard that, sometimes those parts are more important and get more of a reaction from you than the other, the more
Yeah, the more, yeah.
intense parts. Yeah.
Do when you're writing, do you write straight through? Like when you wrote Demon's Dreams, was it I'm gonna write Smoke's story, then I'm gonna write Damon's story, and I'm gonna insert. Did you do that? And when it comes to the sex scenes, are you just writing and when they're having sex, or do you have these pre-planned sex scenes that you're dropping in?
I do not write linearly at all. I might say, like, I know what I want to happen in the end. Let me write that. And ooh, this would be perfect for this person's character, even though it can't happen right now. So let me write that. The other day I was working on a kiss scene between Tarzan and Theory for my next
Uh-huh.
book. And I was like, oh, this is too much for the beginning of the book because she mad at him. So let me take this and, I'll write this for later on when, she's forgiven him a little bit. So yeah, I write all around or whatever.
And then just kind of like,
Put piece it together. It's always a mess. I always have like four files
uh-huh.
with parts of the story in. I'm not throwing this away. Oh, I can use this later. Or okay, so this is, this file might be named Diana, and this file is really named Dream, or, Dream
Oh,
Combined or something, or
mm,
not. So there's things jotted in here, and there's things jotted in here, and there's stuff in the notes on my phone, and yeah.
how do you I want to talk a little about smoke, and we're gonna go over just a little bit this hour, only because the book is big. We got a lot to talk about. So, I want to talk a little bit about smoke because he was processing grief throughout almost this entire book.
Hmm.
I felt like really I was grieving with him this time around because I've been focusing on him, and I'm just like, let this. I'm just feeling all his feeling it. What research did you do in grief to make sure that you got this grieving process correctly?
I had a book recommended by a friend and one by a therapist that I
Okay.
had at that point. I just read some things, and again bringing in my the idea of, if you have a guy who is streetwise and who's known for his loyalty,
Okay.
how does his loyalty look in his love relationship? So he's definitely influenced by that strong sense of loyalty he has. But I did have to do some reading on, grief and stages, and sort of
Hmm.
not letting go, but like sort of making peace. Sometimes realizing, not getting past survivor's guilt. That was something I read about. Maybe not past it, because it always pops up, and that's something that I've had familiarity with since after that book came out. But I have more respect for Smoke's character now, I think.
Hmm.
um just because I lost my granddaughter in 2023, and I
Oh, I'm
feel
sorry to hear
it
that.
feels like every year I feel like going, oh, I went into 2024 without her, and I feel guilty with that about that. I
Right.
came into 2025 without her.
Yeah.
It should be her. And so that having to do some work myself, I really have more respect for him, and I hope I handled that okay.
Yeah.
Because reading can't teach you everything all the time. I've learned that. I'm a book sense kind of
Mhm.
person. And I read a lot and think I know something, and it happens in real life, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not how that goes at all.
That's what makes particularly indie authors so dope. Is because we get a lot of the realness because we get what you experience and what you see within your own community and your own
Hmm.
lives, and it shows up in your book unapologetically. And I got that from definitely reading, even reading how Smoke was grieving and being a single father. And what is it like writing from the male perspective as a female author? What do you do to make sure you get
Okay.
that part of it right?
Sorry, I muted it because I live by a
That's
train. I always forget that when I come
okay.
in this office. I should have done it in my bedroom. Um, a lot of it is honestly the way you wish a guy would treat you. I mean, we're making them, trying to make them book based. So you got to put that in there. But I'm surrounded by men, nephews, a brother, friends, and so I'll ask them like about the language, like about what would you say, what would you do in this situation, or whatever. And so again, speaking of that supportive family, they are so supportive of me as an author, and so they don't mind sitting down and telling me like, this is not. I remember my nephews will always tell me, nah, they call me KK, nah, KK, don't say
Listen, I've had the
that.
opportunity to be in your space. I want to say 3 times. So I'm at K Renee's book event in New Orleans, and then Loving Books, and obviously the one Girlfriends Unfiltered. And we got to really interact a lot, which was
Uh-huh.
really great. And I was like, okay, I was felt so honored. And then obviously the Black Romance Fest. I think that was the next one that I've seen.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you always have your family with you, and you
Hmm.
always have extremely long lines. So this will be the question: what would you tell that sixth grader that you told us about in the beginning of this story, the
Oh my
beginning of
God.
this interview? What would you tell her about your writing journey?
Man, this is, I can tell you are a social worker. This is my therapist always makes me do this. Go back, and that little girl that felt, so bad in some
Because you're
ways. What
so
would you tell her now?
amazing. I'm
Um,
like, I watched you. I watched your line and watched how exhausted you were, just giving your readers, your fans, so much love at the Black Romance Fest. I mean, there was a young girl who was in your line, and I hope she's watching. Hey, she just couldn't make it to the front of the line, and she was like, "Is there any way you can help me get a book?" Like she had come, I think, from Washington D.C., and she wasn't able to make it to the front of your line, and I'm just like that. That's pretty dope. How does that feel? And how does it feel hearing that people really appreciate what you're doing in your art?
it's always amazing people's reception and that people want to. It's like people want to meet me. People want to see me. People will tell me you're you're underestimating yourself or whatever. But I really operate from this place that if I can make anybody like smile or feel good for a minute, I want to do that because I know I've said it before. I'm coming from this place where I just, as down as I felt sometimes, I don't wish that on anybody. I don't want anybody to feel the ways that I felt sometimes. So I try to make sure I don't feed into making anybody feel that
Right.
way. So, and talking to that younger me for some reason is so hard. Like that's one of the things that I work with because I guess, that little girl was so vulnerable to me and was, so hurt in so many ways. So I would just would tell her to hold on. Would tell her to that she was laying some good groundwork. Would tell her that she would not believe that this wasn't even our first career and how it's going. So yeah.
But can I tell that 6-year old something?
Mhm.
I would say if I would say this, I would say that you're amazing, that you've come far, that your experiences are impacting others in a different kind of way. Um, that you are important, that you do matter, that your words are powerful, and, and there's so much more to come. So much more to come. This is only the beginning. You're only at book 14. You have a long way to go, sis. So I am so appreciative of you and
Thank you.
um, what you're doing for this community. I love all of this for you. I love it for
Thank
you
you.
because we're living vicariously through the words that you're writing. And it's just absolutely dope. I mean,
Thank you.
like I said, 2022, and we're 3 years in, and people talk about Deamon's Dream as if it just came out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you have, so to that sixth grader, you have left an impact already on this world. I'll say that.
Thank
So
you.
I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna give a minute. There was one question that I saw in this box.
Okay.
Um, oh, that someone wanted to know, did you use people around you for character development?
Mm-hmm. I do. Like the feisty little sister characters that you see that I'm trying to move away from, but I can that's definitely my sister. As that's just an example. And just, so it's like I'm happily single or whatever, but some of the guys that especially Tremel in the Kinsey
Okay.
series was based off of a really positive, really good relationship. So being single now doesn't mean that I haven't had some beautiful relationships with men, and so that comes through sometimes.
What's next to come? What do we expect to see?
Okay, so next up, in what as planned, is like sort of, I don't know, you might not know, because so in my latest book, eh, I put a lot of myself into that character, and I'll
Okay,
talk
tell
about
us
that one
the
day.
latest book. What is the
It's
name,
called
if you can share?
Reels Love.
Okay.
But they both have the Real and Love both have huge families, right? And you meet a lot of Love's family. And I do that because we're having a saga based in a rural Louisiana town called Emancipation, because it was founded by ex-slaves in the aftermath of
That's
emancipation, right?
that's some of
So
that history.
Yeah, that's definitely
Okay.
history. Yeah, on
Okay.
my webpage. On my webpage, I've written a little bit about it, like a little description of the town, and that's
Okay.
definitely historical knowledge. So next up is Love's cousin, Theory, and her relationship with a guy named Tarjan. So for me, but I've also
So wait, I'm gonna
my
pause you.
sister.
Love,
Okay,
Real's Love is out
the
now.
Real Love is
Okay.
out now.
When was that released? Just so that I'll know. So
May
when.
19th.
Oh, it was just
Mm-hmm.
okay. Sis, I'm gonna have to push that and promote that.
Okay,
I'm
thank
gonna read
you.
that one. That'll be my next book since
Okay.
I'm finishing.
I
Okay.
always
So
tell people people get irritated by Everly. At least they're talking about her. Her name is Everly Love.
okay.
They talk about it. She aggravates them, but there's a lot of me in there. I won't, hold it up by talking about that. So
Okay.
it's just like some of the experiences that I had that made me build a
Mhm.
thick skin, and she has too. But her cousin's story is up next. One of her cousin's stories, but also my sister and I came together because she's like a longtime industry watcher, and I feel like we were both former teachers, and so we have, I think, skills for imparting information and showing people like ways to do things successfully. So we came together to build. We're coming together to build a publishing company.
Okay, I saw that.
That's yeah, based on our initials. It's called LKG Publications. We just
Oh,
spell our initials out because that's where Elle Kayson comes from too. My initials are LK, my legal name.
okay.
LK, and my last name is Gray. So, um,
And you're
but
taking submissions. Someone
yes,
asked me
taking
about that.
submissions. Yes,
Okay.
we're taking submissions, but we've signed a couple of people. We're staying small because I want to be hands on, and because I know people. Some people are coming because they want to work with me, and I want to honor that. So we it won't be. I have no goals of being, a big company, and I tell them, my goal is to get them to a place where they're ready to indie publish themselves.
Okay.
Because hey, there's nothing like doing it for yourself, or move on to maybe a larger, more traditional publishing house or
Okay. Okay.
something. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. I'm not, trying to hold on to anybody. I want to be the person that gives you roots, gives you roots so you can have those
Right.
wings.
Okay.
So that's
When
what we're doing.
so what type of books are you taking submissions for?
We're doing, we have of course, sort of, we're most comfortable with like urban and African American contemporary
Okay.
romance, paranormal romance. We have a really interesting sort of more
Hmm.
traditional urban lit submission that I
Okay.
think we're going to work with, because when I tell you, I just, Aubrey J told me, if you see something in somebody, jump on
Yeah.
it, and I
Okay.
do. I do. So,
Okay. And so,
yeah.
if someone has already published a book and they still want to come over, is that a space where they can still
Yeah.
come to? Like if they're already in that indie space? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Because someone actually brought that to my attention, and so I'm glad you brought that up. If someone wants to get a copy of your book, what is the best way to get it?
Like if you want to just get, a copy from Amazon or whatever, you can. Everything's there. But if you want an autograph copy,
Hmm.
go to my website, lkayson.com. I tell people the only thing I'm creative about is writing. Everything is going to be simple. If you look at my social media names, our website name. So you go to lkayson.com, and there's one of the tabs is going to say paperbacks, and
Okay.
you go there, and what happens is that I either have them, I'm
Hmm.
saying it like you can see these shelves. I either have them in stock, or I might have to order them. So we tell you it might take a few weeks because Amazon takes. I'm still just in a bigger country place. I still take like 3 to 4 weeks to get the books. I get the books. We autograph them. I sit up with my nieces and nephews, my interns. We sit up. We autograph. I autograph. They pack them and get them to the post office. So
What about events? Can you give us your upcoming events? Because people can
hmm
also get signed copies from
that's right.
events. So where
That's
will
right.
you
So
be?
let me think. Okay, let me get it in my head. Um, June and July. I'm not doing anything because July I have a family event. I don't think I have anything in August. September, I'm doing Gray Huffington's event in Dallas,
Okay.
and I'm doing Jessica
In
Watkins event in
Chicago.
Chicago.
Okay.
So the Chicago, I think Gray's is called My Romance Friends and Me,
Right.
and Jessica's, of course, is
The
the Chicago Urban
urban
Book Expo.
correct.
And then October, I'm doing
Someone has Southern
Sou-
Hearts.
Southern Hearts, and I am doing Books on the Ground in Houston. You know, I spent a lot of my life in Houston,
Boots
so
on the ground.
books on the ground. Mhm.
The boots on the ground. Okay, I'm just making sure that I get it right. You're gonna be, so you're doing Dallas, Great Huffington, Chicago, the Urban Book. You're doing boots on the ground, and you're doing Southern Hearts in South Carolina.
Mhm.
And then you already have a list up for 2026, but you probably don't
Yes.
remember. I know you're going to be in North
Uh
Carolina.
huh.
You're going to be in New York.
Uh huh.
So you're going to be all over.
I'm doing M Monique's thing. I love
Yes.
M Monique. I'm doing her thing
And
in
then Monique, and then
Pensacola.
someone
I'm
has
so excited.
Chocolate City.
Yeah. No, no, she has. I'm doing the
Uh-huh.
Chocolate City one. Yeah, that's earlier in the spring, I
And
think. And
hers
M
is called
Monique's.
Herb Lit. I think and Monique is called and
Oh,
Monique's is
the
called Herb Lit.
Herblit Expo or something like that. That's the beginning of August.
Is it listed on your website somewhere? All of
It's
the places you can be.
It will be. If it's
Okay.
not, they're very good about updating it. It will
Okay.
be. I'm also doing a more contemporary event, I think, because it's been put together by AC Arthur. It's in
Okay.
New
New
Orleans. Because
Orleans.
so I'm crazy booked for July. I'm so glad that I didn't accidentally like double book, because I'm doing AC Arthur's event and I'm doing the New York event, and then M Monique's. Even though it's like August 1st or 2nd, I probably will, get there July 31st or something. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got 3 things in July I'm excited about, but I'm just like, thank God they didn't overlap.
Yeah, well, you're gonna definitely be in the streets. If y'all are anything like me, you want all your books signed. And so you can definitely also catch her at an event to get those books
Hmm.
signed. So we're gonna wrap this up.
Okay.
And again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Thank you for making me better. Um,
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed
Absolutely.
this.
I'm going to give you a few minutes to say something to the people who've been watching and the people who are going to watch it in regards to however you want to close it up. I'm going to give
Oh
it
my
to you.
gosh. I hope that it comes through that I am always grateful, that I know a lot of things that have been possible for me would not be possible without my readers, without your love. I'm always glad for the ways that you sustain me. You never know. Like, I read a lot of things, I see a lot of videos and things like that. So even when I can't comment on everything, I'm looking and I'm peeking, and I appreciate you, because I'm someone who's very much, um, well, whether it needs working in on therapy or not, I'm very externally motivated. And what you say and think or whatever will always matter to me. So thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Um,
Yeah, thank
and I hope
you.
you go with me for whatever comes
We
next.
will. And so I'm going to say this. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this next book. So if you see me reaching out and be like, okay, we need another interview,
I'll be ready.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. Again,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys so much. Next week we have Danielle Allen.
Ooh.
No, and I'm gonna do. I try to devote Thursdays to authors who are semi new to me, and so there is this Thursday. I have Andrea Lee. She writes love stories in verse, so it's gonna be fun
Wow.
because she writes poetry throughout
Poetry.
her love
Okay.
stories. So that's
That
this
is me.
Thursday, and then Tuesday is Daniel Allen, and then I can't remember who's
And your
next, but I'll let you
background is
guys
so
know.
wonderful.
And again, just thank you so much for supporting Girlfriends Unfiltered, and anything we can do to uplift you, reach out to us, because we're all about supporting this indie community and making sure that we learn to trust the power of words.
Thank you.
That
Thank you for
again, every
having
book
me.
is not for everybody. Every book is for somebody.
That's right.
And thank you so much. You're appreciated, sis.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye bye.